ask all of you, because networking is something that people don't talk about, but it's a huge piece. And I wanted to know for all of you, like, when did you realize that networking is just as important as pitching to the studios and pitching to these publicists?
Day one. I don't think there's anything more important than networking. And Robert mentioned that these relationships can sometimes feel transactional, and sometimes they are. If it's often the publicist writer relationship can feel very transactional. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. You're both in business to accomplish something. It doesn't have to be, a reality show where I'm not here to make friends, but it doesn't hurt either. It's really helpful when you respond to a publicist, or when you reach out to a publicist and you do it in a way that is like a two-way street, rather than simply, here's what I need from you. Because I think we can bag on publicists, as we do sometimes, but at the same time, they have a crazy difficult job. And I think the more that we can humanize each other in those conversations and relationships, the better. And that is the better part of networking for me. Like you said, Sharonda, going to film festivals and stuff like that is my bread and butter for meet and greets, because everything else for me is email or phone. So those are crucial for me. I love those, and I love networking anyway. I love talking with people, and I will go up to anybody. You know that, Sharonda. I will go up to anybody anytime. I don't have any issues with that at all. So that's always that's great for me. Not everybody can do that. So then emails become a very comfortable form of conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate. I don't know. I have a very complicated relationship with networking, and that I think that having a large network is, I think, of course, important, because we're writing about so many different kinds of content and stuff like that. But there's also part of me that thinks that ultimately we are also offering criticism as service in the same way that publicists are offering access. So I hesitate to say that a transactional relationship is necessarily bad. You're both serving a function and you're both doing a job. I've been doing this for 13 years and I've only ever attended 2 film festivals, so I think that they are important, but I also don't necessarily think they're the end all be all. I think that your portfolio and your body of work can exist without film festivals, which honestly can be very expensive for freelancers. And I know of freelancers who go to film festivals and don't get assignments out of that. So I think that something that is more perhaps attainable is sort of that sense of, if you're writing for yourself, if you're maintaining your own website, you're writing on whatever, you're amassing a body of work that, as Robert mentioned, you're linking to in these emails to prove what your voice is and what you can offer. And sometimes that can result in a film festival application, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think there are a lot of different ways to go about this, because a lot of people are all around the country and we're all offering different things. So I just think something to consider is like, what drives you and what you're passionate about and what you want to write about, and finding ways to do that that might not necessarily equal you spending money to do that. I'm just sort of hesitant to say that you need to, put money out to sort of gain attention for your work. I'm just a little hesitant to say that.
There's also, if part of this is also to entice disabled critics to get into this industry, there's still a lot of rampant ableism when it comes to networking. Despite my job title, I've still gone to events where, because nobody's ever seen a disabled person, working at a trade, they just assume that, I'm a guest that, maybe is like a friend of somebody, they don't know that I am a TV editor, and the logistics of kind of going into a space whether that's a premiere or a film festival, it's not as easy for me to be able to walk up to somebody who maybe is not paying attention and is incredibly tall, and then having this conversation in a very crowded room. So networking, I always kind of try to pivot in a certain way. I'm very open with like Zoom. Again, if there's a silver lining to the pandemic being like, hey, like let's, if you want to have kind of like a meet and greet and kind of figure out how we can work together, like let's have a Zoom talk, let's have a coffee somewhere, and try to, if the goal is to kind of press flesh, so to speak, taking it out of those spaces where I do often feel very marginalized and uncomfortable just because of the logistics of being a disabled critic, and kind of taking it into a place where I feel comfortable. So I think that it requires, for especially marginalized critics, to kind of really kind of set boundaries about what you want to get out of networking and make it, I don't want to say advantageous to you because that sounds very venal, but make it so that you do feel comfortable. So it's not just about like trying to amass a network of people as quickly as possible, but really foster, contacts that are going to understand where you're coming from.